Hello and welcome to another video from the Fantasy Legion. We're continuing with our 2020 player profile series for the
Fantastic.
2020 season. It is Calvin Ridley, ADP of 37.
Yeah.
Right, let me just get before I know you're a big fan, right? So I know you're keen to get on, but let me just tell you who you're picking him around. DJ Moore, is above him. Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods are the two below him.
Okay. Look, it's pretty simple. I think what we've seen of Calvin Ridley, it pretty much tells us what we're going to get every year. Really, he's been pretty solid. The last 2 seasons, his 2 seasons in the league, he's got you round about 900 yards and 8 or so touchdowns.
Is that good enough for ADP of 37?
It's in the ballpark. Yeah, it's not good enough return value in the large leagues. In the smaller leagues, that's your sort of 4th player taken, then that's okay. But what the problem is with Calvin Ridley is simple, and it's been spelled out last year. So
it's Julio Jones is his problem.
Yeah, well, exactly. You see, Julio Jones will always give you 1,300 yards, and naturally is the guy that Matt Ryan is locked into most of the time. Calvin Ridley does benefit, obviously, clearly, from having Julio Jones there. We don't know if Calvin Ridley yet can take the step up. I believe he can. I think he can be an alpha receiver, as I like to refer to them. But we won't know until it happens. But what we know is, while Julio is there, his value is capped at the level that it currently is. And we know this because he's done it 2 years in a row, and that's in a high-octane offense.
And so I think Julio's pretty special. So, you're talking wide receiver 2 on a team.
Yeah.
So,
and we can pretty confidently accurately predict, actually, that Calvin Ridley is worth 8 touchdowns and about 900 yards. We can say that quietly, confidently, within reason. What we don't know for certain is, of course, even if he gets an uptick in yards, so even if he hits 1,000 yards, okay, that's only 10 fantasy points more, maybe 12. It's nothing. If his touchdown numbers drop by a couple, then that's what you gained, you've lost. So he's still the same value player. I don't see any. I think it's a little bit high for his ADP, if I'm honest. I mean, it's a safe player. He's going to give you a decent return. It's just not going to wow you, right? At the moment, I can't see the takeoff ramp that needs to happen for him yet. I mean, I was expecting the baton to be passed over last year, but what I've seen is Julio Jones.
I don't think it ever will be because Julio's too good. He's too good. He's too consistent.
Julio Jones does what Julio Jones does. He doesn't. So
you're probably one of Calvin Ridley's biggest fans. Are you telling me are you a buyer then at this price?
No.
37.
No, I don't need to be. I won't overpay. You see, it was worth having a couple of years back when the price was a lot less.
But
now the price has climbed. And this is the classic tale and very well spelled out here. Love the player, love the situation, admire the talent, just won't pay the price. I've got lots of shares of Calvin. I'm happy to have them. And I do believe, at some point.
Well, yeah, when Julio moves on or he retires, then, Ridley's going to take a step up.
He can kick on. Now, the question is, can he do that for this season? Now, in my bold prediction, I'm going to tell you what I think there. But it's a bold prediction, right? If you're being really logical, a bold prediction is exactly that. It is a prediction for that year based on something that's got to happen for it to get out the way for it to occur. For my bold prediction to come right for Calvin Ridley to exceed his value comfortably, Julio Jones has to hand the baton over. The logic is that he's entrenched, right? He's entrenched. I love Calvin Ridley and do believe he can be an alpha wide receiver and do believe he can kick on. I actually think their offense can kick on actually as a group. So I think there is a bit of an uplift for Calvin, but you are paying the ceiling here. You are paying the ceiling. So it's difficult, very, very difficult. There are players around him there that I think are probably more, safe to have an uplift. But I love the guy, and I do think there's a big year in him. I do believe he's going to be one of these very special players in time. He can really surprise people. He could get 1,200 yards. He can get 10+ touchdowns. He can do all that. I know he can do it.
It needs Julio to get injured, really, doesn't it?
But there needs to be a step back. Exactly. That's what my bold prediction spells
Julio's
out.
too good not to throw to. We've seen that. He's done it consistently over
I mean, don't get me wrong. You know,
Over
if
the
anybody's
years.
seen me drafting, the biggest tell is I've taken Calvin Ridley a lot because I know that at some point, it's mostly in Dynasty, if I'm honest, I will take it. I'll still take some shares in redraft. I know at some point Julio Jones can't carry on. That's just the way it is. That's fantasy. It's real life. It's just inevitability of life. You know, it
Age
just
catches
goes
up
on.
with all of us, doesn't it? So.
You know, and when I'm right, I'm going to get a big payoff because I know that Calvin Ridley is an alpha player and he will rise to that challenge. And luckily, the great thing for him, he's had 2 years being schooled by arguably one of the great wide receivers we've seen in the last 10 years easily, who is so consistent, so perfect at his route running, it's such a brilliant bloke to watch play. You know, I mean, there are times when he does little micromanagement movements where, you know, for a bloke of his age, and you just look at the little things he does to the corners and safeties to walk them off, and you go, that is hilarious. I mean, he's just so good at it. I mean, it's like the ultimate street baller. You know, there are times where I just see him do little things which just are not coachable. You can't teach it. And I think you've really set this guy up so well here. You know, it looks like it's an
thing is, knowing
inside.
your luck, by the time Julio moves on, Matt Ryan will retire and you'll have Mitchell Trubisky throwing him the ball.
Well, that's the other problem. But we can't worry. We can't worry about that yet. We can't.
I'm not worried about that. I'm looking forward to that.
But he is a good player. But it's just you have to consider that problem when you're drafting. It's a very high ADP. You can see kind of his ceiling is very heavily capped. The floor's really great. There's nothing wrong with the floor. It's really good. But is it 140 great? You know, I mean, or perhaps third round great.
Obviously, more in others.
You know, and another reference tool which is useful, if you take, when we talk standard, if you take the scoring we give, roughly add 80 for half point. Sorry, apologies. Add 40 for half point and 80 for full point for wide receivers. You're pretty close to what they would score, give or take, depending on their abilities. Some are better than others. You just have to factor that in. But with him, he's got a really interesting situation. I have him on my bold prediction list, so I am predicting him to do better than most people think. But I'm at the very extreme.
You don't even seem convinced by it, though. That's a
bold
prediction.
I wouldn't put him on the bold prediction list. I just think you have to be realistic until Julio Jones steps out of the way.
Well, wait for that to put him on the bold prediction list and get him off it.
Well,
kick him off.
No, well, the thing is, you know, there is an inevitability. There is a handing of a baton comes. You know, it comes. And it's just when. I still believe that's coming. So, you know, I'm going to take shares of him where I can. I have done. But in redraft, I think this is where it's different. I probably would have to be more cautious here. And I would have to be looking at other outlet valves and other positions. It's different. Depending on league size, it's very different. Dynasty, I can take a few more shots like this and be more confident. In redraft, I have to be bang on, and it's a bit more tricky. But his floor is very low, so it's his floor is reasonably high. So you know, you kind of know. What
unfortunately, his ADP is very low as well. So
yeah, it's currently sitting. What did you say? It was
36, was it?
36 ADP, right?
I mean, that's still high, isn't it? Too high.
Yes, third round in the big leagues, probably your first wide receiver off the board if you go that route. Maybe not. That's high.
37 is wide receiver 16.
You're going to have to. He's going to have to hit my calculated ceiling for you to get that return value this year, and that's the risk.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that sums up Calvin Ridley quite nicely. It's a no from me. It's a blind yes from Sean. And if you've enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe for more, and we'll see you on the next one.